Welcome to the Hamakua Homestead. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany, and today we are making a base for refried beans, and we are going to be pressure canning it. And yes, beans are a low acid food, so they must be pressure canned. You cannot water bath can this recipe. I got this recipe off of jennygoff.com. I looked at a whole bunch of different recipes about how I could possibly can refried beans, and this is the one that I found the most appealing. This recipe is relatively simple. I already have our beans on a quick soak. They boiled for 2 minutes and they have been sitting in their own hot water for 30 minutes. So while it continues to soak, we're going to prepare the rest of our ingredients. To get started, we're going to go ahead and get our dry seasonings all mixed up into one bowl together. I'm going to show you what those are. Our dry seasonings include cumin, dried powdered chicken bouillon, onion powder and garlic powder. Her recipe calls for Mexican oregano, which many of her recipes do. I'm not able to find that here in Hawaii, so marjoram is the next best thing according to the good old internet. We have some dark chili powder, black pepper, 1 onion, says 16 cloves of garlic, and bay leaves. So let's get these dry seasonings mixed up real quick. 3 tablespoons of chicken bouillon powder, 1.5 teaspoons both onion powder and garlic powder. Just kidding. It's 1.5 teaspoons of garlic powder and 2 tablespoons of onion powder. 1 tablespoon cumin. That's about all I have left anyway, so that's okay. 2.5 tablespoons, yes, tablespoons of chili powder. 2 tablespoons Mexican oregano or marjoram. And again, that's about all I have, so that's okay. And 1 teaspoon of black pepper. I believe we're probably leaving out salt in this recipe because the chicken bouillon is pretty salty in itself. Just get this all mixed up. Oh yeah, it smells so good. Now just go ahead and set aside your mixture. We will come back to that later. The recipe calls for 1 large onion. Mine are pretty small, so I decided to do 2 because I just didn't feel like it was enough. This turned out to be 15 cloves of garlic, but they were pretty large, so I'm gonna call it good with that. So the recipe that I'm going off of does not call for bacon. Bacon is not approved to be pressure canned because it hasn't really been tested, but I am doing it. Do it at your own risk. I am excited for the bacon flavor in the refried beans. So we have all of our other ingredients all set up, ready to go. I've grabbed our jars and we're gonna go ahead and drain our beans now. Don't forget to rinse them off too. Imagine that. I just started filling up our jars with our ingredients and my camera wasn't on. Bummers. So what I did is I took 1 pint jar. I have 12 pint jars here. I'm not sure if I'm gonna have enough beans to fill them all up, but we're gonna try. I put 1 tablespoon of our minced onions, which I have a lot left over, so I might add a little more. We'll find out later. And then I also added 1 teaspoon of our minced garlic and 1/4 to 1/2 of a bay leaf in each one as well. You can see just right there. This is super small bay leaf, so I wasn't too worried about it. Hopefully it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. So just bay leaf, garlic, and onions so far. Now we're gonna go ahead and add 2 teaspoons of our seasoning mix into each one of our pint jars. I only have a teeny bit left in here. I'm gonna go ahead and just chop them off a teeny bit. I don't want to waste it. They'll be very flavorful. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is add a little handful of bacon to each of our jars. I cut these into about 1-inch pieces or so. Now that our jars are filled up with all of our good flavorings, we're going to go ahead and add our beans.
I like where your head's at, baby.
I'm leaving these jars at a little below a 1-inch headspace. And if I need to top them off a little bit, I will, but I definitely don't want to go above 1 inch. So we have our 12 jars all filled up, and I left a little below the 1-inch headspace. I have extra beans, so I'm going to go ahead and just throw those into jars plain as is and make sure to label those separately, but they can go in with the same canner load for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and start cleaning up our jars and get them in the canner. I ended up with 2 extra jars that aren't even full of plain beans. That's okay, they'll get eaten. So now I'm just going to go ahead and take the vinegar and wipe off our rims. Not only is there bacon fat on there, but there's other little particles as well, and we don't want those to interfere with our seal. Just kidding, we have to add our water first. Back up a minute. You always want to make sure that all of the air bubbles are out of your jars. And it's just simply moving the items around inside to make the air bubbles come up when you're shifting it. And as you can see, the ones that I have already debubbled, the seasonings are coming all around, making it look really pretty. I filled these up with warm water. My canner is already warm. I've got it turned back on, so they'll be roughly the same temperature. So I don't have one that's, you know, really boiling and another one that's just room temperature. They'll be relatively the same. Don't want to crack any jars. These are the 2 that are the leftover beans. Now that we've debubbled all of our jars, I'm going to go ahead and go through and make sure that they're all still topped off at that 1-inch headspace. Okay, everybody looks good. Now we're going to go ahead and clean our rims with vinegar. On with our sometimes these are defective. You have to be careful. There is a dent on this one. It's brand new from the factory. I wonder if it's the brand that I'm using. Let me go get some other good ones. Ooh-wee. Like a glove into the canner. Okay, so that's it for now. We're gonna go ahead and pressure can this for 75 minutes because we're doing pint size. I'll show you how they turn out. Okay guys, it has been 75 minutes, and then after it came down from pressure, I've left it cracked for about 10 minutes or so, just so that the temperature inside of the canner doesn't change too dramatically or too quickly. Let's see what they look like.
that?
Not really sure what happened. Maybe I had a jar that was previously compromised, but we had a blowout. But the rest of them are looking good so far. Well, all except for the broken jar, everything else looks pretty good. A little messy, of course, as you might imagine, but pop. Everything looks okay. So I'm gonna bring you guys back a little bit later and we will give this a taste test and I will show you how we are going to make refried beans straight out of the jar. It is the next morning and all of our jars sealed. So we're just gonna go ahead and give these beans a try. I picked the dirtiest jar so I don't have to clean it right now. But we're gonna go ahead and prepare these refried beans and I'll show you how that's done. It's super easy. Okay, we're just gonna put our beans in our pot. The bay leaf is still in the bottom. You don't want to eat that, of course. We've got some bacon grease here. This is about a tablespoon or so. Get it on the heat and just give it some mashing. You can mash them as little or as much as you like. It's all a matter of personal preference. You can use a potato masher for this as well. That would probably work, but I don't have one. I think the main part of this is to bring it up to heat. That's going to help us get the consistency that we're looking for. This is a little bit on the watery side, but really I don't mind. All right, there we go. And we're gonna throw some cheese on top. All right, let's give it a try. Beans for breakfast. It's hot. That has some nice flavor to it. The dark chili is not hot at all. It's the one thing that I would say I would add to it is some spice of some sort. Jalapenos, that would be really good in there. Serrano peppers, even chili flakes. I think that would be really good too. But it's definitely delicious and I highly suggest you guys give this one a try. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Hamakua Homestead. I'll see you again soon.